Thanks everybody for joining me. I'm Dustin Guinee, founder of Open Minds, Open Hearts, and you've arrived at session 17, Loving Relationships Are a Practice. I'm looking forward to this, especially with Valentine's Day right around the corner. But this is really just beyond romantic love. We're going to talk about self-love, the love between partners, the love between friends, and really all living beings. So I think this one is relevant to everybody, regardless of your relationship status. So looking forward to talking about that. In case you missed the last session 16, cultivating intention through attention, that is available on my website, openmindsopenhearts.org, as well as podcast form now. The last time we talked, I was on Spotify, and now I'm on Apple Music and Amazon Music and Audible, Stitcher, Google Podcasts. So pretty much wherever you listen to podcasts, you can catch the audio version of this session, which is super exciting. So, all of these sessions I do are absolutely free. We have a community that joins us in person the first and third Wednesdays of each month. And, if you'd like to donate, it's always appreciated. My information for Venmo or PayPal donations is on my website, openmindsopenhearts.org/donate. So always appreciated. And yeah, if you have any other friends or family that you think could benefit from these sessions, please send them my way. I'd love to have them come and practice with us via Zoom, online, as we're continuing to build the OMO community here. Today, I wanted to talk about loving relationships are a practice. And this is, maybe a little bit different than the stereotypical Western idea of loving relationships. I think Hollywood has done a great job of portraying this happily ever after ideal fantasy of what loving relationships are. And today I want to demystify some of those fantasies and really get into the nature of what is love in general, beyond the relationship. Because as we dig deeper into love and the purpose and meaning of love, it really starts with ourselves. And if we're not cultivating self-love, then how do we have enough in the tank to give to others? So we're going to explore some of that. We're going to explore the 5 love languages by Dr. Gary Chapman. And he has some really interesting ideas around how people have different love languages and how that affects a relationship. And in the guided meditation, I want to dive into a loving kindness meditation around relationships. As I think, it's a practice to cultivate more loving kindness in ourselves. And so as we think about this, it's not boy meets girl and they live happily ever after. This is a practice, whether it's with your spouse, your partner, your child, your coworker. There's all sorts of different dynamics of love that are happening there. And so the more awareness we can bring to that love and understanding that it is a practice that we're working on little by little, day by day. Some people say relationships are work, which I feel like is a negative connotation. So when we say it's a practice, it's more like it's okay to fail. It's okay to fall down as long as you're learning the lessons and getting back up and trying again. So I think that's where if we think of loving relationships as a practice, we can be a little less judgmental on ourselves and others as well. We're going to open up by setting an intention. We'll read some inspired writings. We'll talk a little bit about the 5 love languages, some science around the nature of love. And then we'll do a loving kindness meditation and have some communication with our community at the end. Really, what we do with setting our intentions, it's not about setting a goal or an outcome. It's really more about a state of being when we set an intention and connecting our head and our heart. So, some intentions when we think about relationships could be, my intention is to be more mindful of my partner and their needs. My intention is to be more aware of how I'm feeling and the love that I feel for myself. My intention is to bring more non-judgmental awareness to the way that I interact with my family or friends. So go ahead and just take a minute and reflect upon your intention for this session today, your intention for the love that you're cultivating, whether it's for yourself or for others. What is your intention in practicing loving relationships? And usually what kind of comes first is the right direction. So let's go ahead and go with that. So a few words of inspiration when we think of love and relationships. So Lucille Ball actually said, "Love yourself first and everything else falls into line. You really have to love yourself to get anything done in this world." So I love kind of how simple it is, and also kind of how pragmatic it is too. You have to love yourself to get anything done in this world. Like that's really just kind of a great way of thinking of love. And when you love yourself first, everything falls in the line. I mean, how true is that? And how true is it that sometimes in our relationships, it's not so much the other person that's causing issues. It's really kind of our own issues that we're projecting onto that person. And a lot of that stems from not really adequately loving ourselves, right? Not caring for ourselves, not showing compassion to ourselves, too much judgment of ourselves. So I love that, Lucille Ball is like, if you love yourself, you can go on and take on the world. It's a real go-getter spirit, which I really love. Khalil Gibran, the poem for marriage. It's one of the greatest poems on love and marriage of all time. And this is an excerpt from that. He says, "Sing and dance together and be joyous, but let each of you be alone, even as the strings of a lute are alone, though they quiver with the same music. Give your hearts, but not into each other's keeping, for only the hand of life can contain your hearts. And stand together, yet not too near together, for the pillars of the temple stand apart, and the oak tree and the cypress grow not in each other's shadow." So beautiful and profound. And the metaphors here just really illustrates the independent nature of love while traveling on parallel paths. And, in the West, this is still a concept that we're learning, but this idea that, we really are two pillars, especially when we think about relationships with a spouse or partner, it's these two pillars that are holding up this, in the Baha'i writings, they say the fortress of well-being, right? This idea of this temple of the relationship. And these two separate strong pillars kind of independently moving forward in their lives and having their own life, while also coming together to create this relationship. the oak tree and the cypress don't grow in each other's shadow, right? We see this in nature. There needs to be a separation while also an interconnectedness. It's kind of the duality of existence, right? And so it's so beautiful to think about that when we think of our relationships, and giving the other person space to be free, not trying to control everything, just letting them blossom, and doing it together on parallel paths. And then finally, Leo Buscaglia, also known as the Love Doctor. He's written many books on love. He says, love is always bestowed as a gift, freely, willingly, and without expectation. We don't love to be loved. We love to love. And again, simple yet profound. It's love is bestowed as a gift, right? It doesn't come with strings attached. When the sun gives its light to the earth, it doesn't ask the earth the next day, well, I gave you all that light for free the other day. What are you going to give me in return? Right? The sun is always there providing its light. It's life-giving rays of sunshine to this planet that allows life to exist. Right? And it's unconditional. And I think that's what Leo is touching on here, is that when we really break down the essence of love, it's like the sun. It's this unconditional love that we provide. And in a relationship, that can be a real challenge. And we'll get into some of that. If you're a parent and you have children, it might be a little bit easier. I know for me as a parent, that kind of unconditional love felt like it was very innate. But I know it's not that way for everyone. So it's really, really kind of profound to think about that. A few comments about the science of love and longing, because for, at least romantic relationships, even though we may say it was love at first sight, usually what's happening there is a sense of lust or longing. And there is some good science to back up kind of what's happening there, that honeymoon phase, if you will. So, stage one is often kind of the lust aspect, the sexuality aspect. So there's testosterone and estrogen that create feelings of lust in both men and women. More estrogen in women, more testosterone in men. However, women also have some testosterone, and that is also fuels the libido. So we're getting these chemical messengers in our body telling us hey, this is the one. This is the one that I'm attracted to. This is the one I want to procreate with, right? This is a biological feature of humans and really most mammals, right? Is that we're driven to reproduce for the benefit of the species. So it's built into us. And attraction then kind of is that second stage. And this is where dopamine triggers are hitting the brain's pleasure centers. So we're feeling this sense of euphoria and pleasure. Adrenaline is often boosting our heart rate. We're sweating more. We feel alive. It's similar to our hunter-gatherer days when we were hunting wild animal, and that heart would start racing. It's a very similar primal energy that comes up. And then serotonin is creating feelings of obsession and bliss. So that attachment that we get kind of early on, there's some serotonin activity that's influencing that. So a lot of different hormones that are coming into play, especially in that early relationship. And then as we progress in the relationship, or even beyond romantic relationships, we think of parent-child relationships. There's the stage 3 of attachment. And so oxytocin is one of those hormones that promotes feelings of attachment and bonding. And oxytocin is expressed in mother's milk, helping baby and mom bond. So this is something that like we get exposure to really early, assuming that we've been breastfed. So that oxytocin is creating that bond very, very early on. And then there's also vasopressin, which promotes feelings of commitment and monogamy and kind of that connection to one individual. So really there's a whole chemical carnival, if you will, occurring in the body as we're experiencing these emotional sensations of lust, longing, love, attachment. So that's a little context on the science side. Now, so the 5 love languages by Gary Chapman. Really great book, by the way. Highly recommend it. He has a few different versions too, like for singles and for children. So there's a flavor for everyone. He also, I like the audiobook version because he kind of sounds like Dr. Phil and has like this charming Southern accent, but he's a therapist, a marriage and family therapist. So yeah, he's really great. And so he has these 5 love languages, and it's really fascinating because what he says is that most individuals have a primary love language and a secondary love language. And so as you learn more about this, you'll start to discover that you tend to have one love language that is your primary, that when other people do this thing for you, it really just speaks to your heart and fills you up with love. And then there might be a secondary attribute there too, that also kind of fills your tank with love. But the key here is to know what love language your partner is. And I can tell you, my wife and I have actually been experimenting with this over the last few weeks. And I can tell you, like, it's a very powerful practice. Her love language is quality time, and mine is acts of service. And so for us to kind of talk about how, myself, how I could be giving her better quality time, like it helps a lot because I really do think of love in the terms of service. And so I have to do like a mental shift of kind of refocusing my energy and setting aside time so that me and my wife can have that quality time. So the 5 languages, words of affirmation. So people expressing affection through spoken words, praise, appreciation. These words of affirmation are what really fill up somebody's love tank. And in the reverse, negative words or critical feedback can have the opposite effect. So these people are very sensitive to language, and often people that are really invested in this love language have either received a lot of words of affirmation growing up as children or didn't receive words of affirmation and got a lot of negative feedback from their parents. So it kind of can go both ways with words of affirmation. The next one, quality time. So this one is really, it's really all about giving somebody your undivided attention, making eye contact, actively listening, really setting aside time. And for my wife and I, this is one that came up because I'm a busybody and I'm always doing a million different projects, and she's, a little bit more balanced in that regard. And so I have to be really aware of setting aside time for us to have that quality time, especially with 2 young kids and, working full time in a busy life. So, it's been really powerful for me to now know her love language is quality time, so that now I can actively plan little moments in our day so that I'm trying to manifest more quality time for us. Physical touch, some people, I think most of us, well, maybe not most, but many people find that important in a relationship, physical touch. But some people, it is their primary love language. And so it's anything from holding hands, hugging, kissing, cuddling, all the way to sex. But for these people, physical touch really is how that love is expressed. And so, a pat on the back, holding hands, a hug, all those things really go a long way for this love language. And then acts of service. This is the one I fall into. And so this is actions speak louder than words. And, it's not really big, bold things. It's more like the little things of cooking, cleaning, doing dishes. They seem like kind of menial tasks to some, but for people with acts of service, love language, it really kind of fills up their love tank when their partner is performing these services. And for myself, since I am part of this group, my wife and I were talking about this earlier too, because she thinks it's kind of silly that like I get a sense of love when she does the dishes, but I guess I think for me, it's not so much that she's doing the dishes. It's more that it's a service that's not just helping me, but helping our kids and our whole household. And so it's kind of like being part of a team. And so, when my wife does those services, it's like, it's helping the betterment of our team, our household. And so I think that's why that one resonates with me. Receiving gifts is the fifth love language. And with this one, again, it's not about bold, big, diamond rings and boats. It's really more about the thought that counts, and just small mementos and tokens of somebody's love and appreciation, and just letting somebody know that you're thinking about them. So the gift could be really anything. It could be handmade, which often the time that goes into the gift is more important than the gift itself. So something that comes from the heart and that's handmade is often a really great gift for people of this love language. But yeah, I hope that gives you kind of like a sense of some different ways of thinking about love and relationships. I know this system has definitely worked for me, and I'm excited to kind of keep exploring it and experimenting with it. So yeah, check out Gary Chapman's book, 5 Love Languages. It's pretty good. And then, finally, just some practical tips, I think, on improving our relationships. And this was an article from a cognitive behavioral therapist talking about daily practices to improve our relationships. And so some of those that stood out for me, so counter all or nothing thoughts, right? Paying attention for times when you're thinking about your loved one in black and white terms, such as they never think of my needs, right? So practicing shades of gray and seeing the situation from their shoes. So yeah, I think this is important because we do often get into that black and white way of thinking, especially if our partner or spouse has irritated us, and we start going into that, oh, they never do this, they never do that. And we create this very absolute reality that's just not very honest and destructive for us. Also watching out for shoulds, like oh, they should have done this. They should have remembered to do what I asked them to do. It's a very judgmental kind of word, whether we're saying it to our partner or loved one, or even just thinking it, right? Because we're making a judgment that, oh, they should have done this. They should have done things the way I expected them to, right? And let's be honest, like, how often do people do anything to our specific expectations, right? It's just not realistic. So just being really mindful of that should language, and then asking yourself what they need, what your loved one or partner needs. Especially if they're having challenges, issues. Are they hungry, exhausted, overwhelmed? Especially when there's a disagreement, rather than going into defense mode and putting up walls and, getting ready to battle, maybe taking a step back and saying, wow, okay, I can see that you're really suffering right now. You're really hurt. What do you need right now? What can I do to help? What can I do to, make you feel more relaxed, more loved, more appreciated? And so finally, that falls into listen with presence. Really focusing intently, actively listening to what the person in front of us, our loved one, is saying, both through their language, but also through their eyes, through their body language, facial expressions, and just providing our full attention. And that's definitely very much in line with our work here in meditation and mindfulness, is actively being aware and conscious in our exchanges with others, being mindful of the conversations that we have, how we respond, practicing non-judgmental awareness. So hope that's a little more tactical for you as you think about applying some of these practices. Finally, this book here, Questions for Couples Journal, by Maggie Reyes. My wife and I got this on Amazon recently. And, for us, we've been married almost 12 years. So, maybe more than some, but not that much compared to others. Anybody that's been in a relationship for a certain number of years knows that conversation can start to grow stale, especially when you're totally wiped of energy from work or kids. So at the end of the day, it's often helpful to have a conversation starter to get some really great conversations with your partner. And this book, Questions for Couples Journal, has been like an aha moment for me and my wife, because it's full of just really great, deep questions, questions about your dreams, your past vacations, memories that are important to you, goals, intentions in life. There's just all sorts of awesome conversation starters. And so, yeah, my wife and I have gotten a lot out of this. Kind of in the evening, rather than turning on the TV, we'll open this book up and we'll share some experiences and thoughts. And it's been really rewarding. So check that out. And yeah, so with that, let's go ahead and jump in to a bit of a guided meditation. And let's begin. Greetings. This is Dustin Guinee, and you've arrived at Open Minds, Open Hearts. And today we're going to be doing a loving kindness meditation for relationships. And this practice today is really about cultivating not only love for others, but love for ourselves as well. We're gonna touch on love for ourselves, for relationships, both romantic and as well as family, friend, and really expanding out to all living beings. So, regardless of your relationship status, I think you're going to find something of value in this meditation today. So, let's go ahead and get started with a few deep breaths. So, deep breath in through the nose, filling up your diaphragm, and release. Releasing through the mouth, just letting that air easily come out. And deep breath in through the nose, filling up the belly, and release. Just releasing all that air. And deep breath in. And release. So today, as we do a loving kindness meditation for ourselves and for the relationships in our lives, I invite you to move away from some of these ideas of Hollywood love or living happily ever after, and some of these stories that we've been told about love and the way it's supposed to work. Really, love is a practice, and it's a practice that requires our attention really on a daily basis. And so, as we work through this today, through meditation, mindfulness, I think we'll be able to find that when we start to bring awareness and non-judgmental awareness to our relationships, that we really start to see love starting to flow in our lives, and not conditioning our love, but really starting to cultivate an unconditional love. It really does come from a deep place in the heart as we continue to do this work. It's often our ego that is the one kind of putting conditions on our love and putting all sorts of requirements and judgments on ourselves as to whether we're worthy of love or not, or to others and whether they're worthy of our love or not. And it creates a bit of a toxic environment, and it's not truly love. It's really more manipulation and power plays. And so we want to move away from those notions and to really start to dig deep into this loving energy that is available to us when we sit in quiet contemplation, when we settle our mind, and really just tune into our hearts, tune into the universe. So let us begin our loving kindness practice by giving love to ourselves. We are often our worst critic. We're often most judgmental of ourselves. But if we're not filling up our own cup with love, then how are we ever going to be able to share that love with others? And maybe we are still sharing it, but we're running ourselves dry. We're depleting our resource of love. And so when we can fill up our cup first, we're then able to be abundant with love and be able to give it to others in a way that's very freeing. We're not putting attachment on our love or strings attached. We're giving it because we have it in abundance. And even if we may not feel like that right now, just being here right now doing this practice shows me that you are on the path to self-love and self-healing. So you're in the right place, and you are filling up that cup with this practice. So we're going to recite a metta prayer, which is a loving kindness prayer. And you can repeat after me out loud or silently. And it goes like this. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I live with peace and ease. May my heart be filled with loving kindness. So we start with self-love, we fill up our cup. And now I'd like us to bring our awareness to that of our parents, mother, father, biological, adopted, step-parents, foster parents, guardians, whether living or non-living. There has been a parent or guardian that has been in your life. And for those of us that were fortunate to have a positive experience, we may already share our loving kindness with our parents. For others, it may be more of a challenge, and maybe we didn't have the most positive experience with our parents. And really bringing our loving kindness to our parents is very important, because they were our first teachers. And generally, they're the ones that taught us about love or not to love. And so many of our behaviors are still patterned from that experience with our parents. So even for those of us that maybe are having real challenges with loving our parents, there's an important aspect of forgiveness that is involved with really filling up our cup with love. And forgiving our parents, it doesn't mean that we necessarily accept or forget some of the wrongdoings that may have happened. The forgiveness is really a healing practice for ourselves to let go of the past, regardless of how traumatic or bad it may have seemed. Where through forgiveness, we are letting go of that hurt, and we are moving on to fully express our true, authentic self. So let's first just forgive our parents. I forgive you, Mom. I forgive you, Dad, for any transgressions, any harm, any ill will or hurtful words. I forgive you now, and I share with you my deepest loving kindness and gratitude, regardless of your imperfections. And we recite the metta prayer. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live with peace and ease. May your heart be filled with loving kindness. Now, I'd like us to shift our attention to that of a little being, a child, a niece, a nephew, a grandchild, a friend's child, or even a pet or a small animal. This is a being that is growing and developing in the world. and has an innocent nature, or just a younger quality to them that helps fill us with energy. But because they are still learning the ways of the world, perhaps they test our buttons and can get to us in ways, get under our skin a little bit. But I don't know this little being in your life, but I can pretty much guarantee that one of their greatest joys in life is to be in your presence, uninterrupted, with your full attention. So I'd like us to give our attention to this child or animal with our metta prayer. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live with peace and ease. May your heart be filled with loving kindness. Now, I'd like you to bring your attention to a partner, spouse, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, or a close friend, somebody that you just really love dearly. This is somebody that, despite their shortcomings, you still love them. They may get under your skin at times, but you really can't imagine your life without this person. And perhaps you're at different levels in love with them. Perhaps you're deep in love. Perhaps you're not feeling the love as much these days. Wherever you are right now, much like our parents, these people are very transformational in our lives. And often there is some hurt and some baggage that comes along with these relationships. And we also want to forgive our partner for any transgressions that they may have caused. And that doesn't mean that we forget some of those things or that we're not still working on those things, but ultimately we want to provide unconditional love to this partner, no strings attached. And we can do that first through our forgiveness. So I forgive you, my spouse, my partner, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, friend. I forgive you, and I intend to share with you my purest loving kindness from my heart to yours. And repeat after me. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live with peace and ease. May your heart be filled with loving kindness. And I'd like us to bring our awareness to somebody that is difficult in our lives. I know this isn't the first person that we may think of when we think of love. This could be a friend, family, coworker, a public figure, or a politician. Somebody that we really have a difficult time being around, hearing their voice, and just in general, try to avoid this person. And we're not really fond of this person. We may have developed a very keen aversion, potentially even a hatred for this person. Hopefully we haven't gone there, but we may have some anger and some fear. But I'd like us to bring this difficult person into our mind. And while we may not condone all their actions, we may despise them, to be honest. Is there one quality that you can see in that person that's positive? Is there one attribute or one thing that they've done that's good, either for you or for others? And just focusing on that, just little slice of goodness, can you find it within yourself to share a little of that loving kindness with this person? To quiet down the judgmental mind and see that this is another human. See that hurt people, and perhaps they're difficult because they're just hurt, and so they're hurting others in the process. Can we cultivate some of our loving kindness for this person today? So, repeat after me. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live with peace and ease. May your heart be filled with loving kindness. And finally, let us now bring our awareness, expanding from the room from which we sit, expanding our awareness beyond the confines of the building in which we dwell, to the town and city in which we live. The awareness of our love expanding increasingly to capture the state and country in which we live. Letting this loving awareness grow to envelop the entire planet and all sentient beings in that planet into our loving awareness. We may feel like we don't have a love that's big enough to love all of these living beings. But as we look at the nature of the atom, the electromagnetic energy that creates all matter in the universe, there is an attraction and a love intention that is truly animating all matter in our known universe. And so when we speak of this agape love, this interconnection with all beings, it is happening both at a physical and spiritual level. And it may feel a little far out for some, and that's okay too. But really what we're doing is quieting down the ego and the judgmental mind and understanding that all living beings aren't that different from us. They're all seeking some level of love, respect, dignity, survival. So right now we want to share that loving awareness with all life on the planet. Please repeat after me. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live with peace and ease. May your heart be filled with loving kindness. And as we conclude our session, I'd like to share with you a poem that I've written entitled, "Love is a Practice." My love, forgive me, for I have been blind. Seeing what I want to see, I could not find. The key to your heart that I knew long ago, buried by busyness, the door to your soul. I'm making a path back to where we began, when love was new, taking time to understand. I was raised to believe we'll live happily ever after. But after that, we begin again to start another chapter. After much pain, heartbreak, and sadness, I've come to realize that love is a practice. To quiet my ego and serve your needs, allowing our love to bloom by pulling the weeds, planting seeds of commitment and content, returning to the source from which we've been sent, returning to the well of love I fill, starting with my cup till into yours it spills. I strengthen my heart to give it all to you, leave enough in the tank to reinvent and renew. Open another chapter, riding ups and downs, deepen our love, roots underground. Love is a practice, persistent and patient. Building our temple, there is no replacement. Each stone is a memory, trust our foundation. Each pillar is separate, holding up our creation. Ever evolving, energies exchanged. Go with the flow, embrace one another in change. This life, this is love. Two wings of a bird, take flight like a dove. To see from the heavens realities that angels see. When I let you go, we are both free. Love is a practice, one step at a time. Closer in connection, two souls intertwine. My love, I am thankful to have you in my life. You make me more human to transcend pain and strife. Love is a practice, and I want to practice with you. You remind me to be grateful, giving, and true. To live in the moment, this moment with you. The light in me bows to the light in you. Namaste. Hey there, friend. If you enjoyed that session and would like to join me in real time, then go to openmindsopenhearts.org and sign up for my free classes the first and third Wednesday of each month at 5 p.m. Pacific time. I'd love to meet you in person via Zoom online for these sessions. Also, on my website, you can find past guided meditations. You can find my training sessions where I go deeper into the science and mindfulness practices around this content. You'll find my poetry for meditation, original music, and a variety of other resources to guide you on your meditation and mindfulness practice. So go to openmindsopenhearts.org, sign up, and I hope to see you at the next session.